to welcome our esteemed speakers for the session today. And I also would like to welcome again our participants. So ladies and gentlemen, let's start our session for today. Before moving to our speakers, I would like to request the participants to write their questions if they have any in the Q&A chat box, and specify to whom this question is, to whom of the speakers this question is addressed. So I would like to start with the first speaker. Actually, the four speakers of today are very brilliant and very innovative in the field of entrepreneurial. And they came here to share their experience and give some advices to the startups of the young women. So the first speaker for the session of today is Ms. Douja bin Mahmoud Gharbi. I'll give a brief introduction of her experience. She has more than 20 years of entrepreneurial experience. She has a long professional career as an entrepreneur and manager, serial entrepreneurs. She has created and managed several companies in various sectors, industry, services, and commerce. She has also been an expert on entrepreneurship, counselor and mentor for more than 10 years, trained and certified by UNIDO ITBO Bahrain. She is lately a co-founder and CEO of the accelerator Red Star Tunisia, counseling and coaching women and youth creating startups and innovative micro and small and medium enterprises, and helping them accessing finance new markets. Without any further ado, I'll give the floor to Ms. Douja. Ms. Douja, the floor is all yours. Ms. Douja, please unmute your mic.
Okay. Did you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the organizer for this kind invitation. I'm very happy to be with you today and to share with you my experience, my small experience in the field, in the entrepreneurial area. And I want to introduce first of all myself. I'm from Tunisia. I'm Douja Gharbi. I started as entrepreneur very early, just after I finished my studies, and I created several companies in many sectors: industry, services, handicraft, and many other sectors. And I'm very really committed to this journey of entrepreneurship. I'm really passionate by that. And after around 10 years of my experience as entrepreneur, I've met Dr. Hashim Hussein in a conference for women entrepreneurs, by the way. And then I was in the board member of the National Organization of Women Businesswomen in Tunisia. And we was participating, all of us as delegation, as well, Tunisian women entrepreneur in a conference and an exhibition of women-led business in Spain. And I discovered the program of UNIDO Bahrain EDIP. And since this time, I was like really following what they are doing in the area of entrepreneurship, and I was trained as a trainer and as counselor with UNIDO. And from this moment, I'm really following my double way or path in my life as entrepreneur in one side and as business counselor and coach for entrepreneurs, and especially for the women and youth. And I really enjoyed that. So I participated as expert in many projects organized by, led by UNIDO, but by other international organizations in Tunisia and abroad. And all the time focusing on women entrepreneurship and on youth entrepreneurship. So after having this more than 15 years of as counselor and as trainer, I came with this idea. I'm really very happy to launch to have launched last year the accelerator Restart Tunisia, which is a joint venture with another accelerator incubator in France, in Paris, called Restart France, and we are trying together to come up with a really very effective and concrete way of counseling, of doing like accompaniment for youth and women to mainly accede to finance and accede to market, which is really the clue of the journey of entrepreneurs in Tunisia, but I see that also in other countries, everywhere, they are really struggling with access to market and access to finance. I'm working also a lot on the problematic of access to finance, because it's really a clue for all the entrepreneurs, and I'm very active in promoting and working on alternative finance, such as business angels and crowdfunding. And lately I founded the first women business angel network in Tunisia. I'm sharing this network, and we are trying to invest together in companies led by women, or at least having women in the board of the company they founded. So at this stage, I'm really very much committed to work on entrepreneurship, on women entrepreneurship, and I believe that it's very important to support women, because they are representing more than the half of the society, and I have the experience in Tunisia when the company is led by women is very successful. She's very committed. She's paying her loans and working very hard to improve herself and to make her business as successful as she can. So we are working a lot to help women, to support them, and I want to stress a lot on the fact that networking and having partners in Tunis, but in Tunisia, I mean, and all around the region and in the world, is very important. So I'm very active in many, let's say, networks, women networks, trying to have these links and to help the companies I'm supporting and I'm coaching to be linked to other companies and to other businesses to work together and to improve their, to enhance their business, to develop their business. So yeah, I believe that networking is very important. Accompaniment, I mean, like non-financial services is very important to help women. And I stress again on the networking and to open doors and to have opportunities to work with other women around the world. Thank you for the invitation, by the way, and I'm very open for any questions if needed.
Thank you very much, Ms. Douja, for this informative speech and for the guidelines that you gave for the young women. Actually, we'll finish with the speakers, then we will open the floor for the question and answer. Now, let me move to the second speaker, Ms. Kubra Bayraktar from Turkey. Ms. Kubra established the Zemin Istanbul Innovation Entrepreneurship Center in 2018. She was the director of Zemin Istanbul Innovation and Entrepreneur Center. Zemin Istanbul is the first entrepreneur center in the world in the concept of Metro Zemin Istanbul project that is supported by Istanbul Development Agency under guided project support. Zemin Istanbul, which is composed of 4 main centers: incubation center, education and activity centers, animation studios, experience center, is located in the center of the innovation. Zemin Istanbul offers an opportunity for its users to show their talents and benefits from the solution of modern information and communication technologies. She was a leader in the field of in-house entrepreneurship in the IMM. She also prepared the Dictionary of Innovation Terms. In 2014, she won the title of Female Leader in IDC Women's in Turkey Technology Sector event. Currently, Ms. Kubra Bayraktar provides consulting services in the field of entrepreneurs and innovation. Ms. Kubra, the floor is yours.
Hello to everyone. I'm Kubra Bayraktar from Istanbul. I first graduated International Relations Department in Yıldız University in 2006. Then I continued my master degree in Bahçeşehir University. Then I started to work in Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality, and I became the director since 6 years here. And in that time, I took I took part in writing and execution period in European Union projects, and I think 160 projects I finalized. That project's really good experience for me because it's very different kind of areas. For example, and social areas and R&D areas and Dementi and also ICT, energy efficiency, different kind of projects I execute. And then I have a chance, and it's a very good chance for me. I had because I make collaboration every different people and every different culture, and also I pursue and what kind of in the outside. And so then I establish after my experience, I established them in Istanbul, and also a little bit explain. It's Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center. Is also it's the first, in the center under the metro. The concept of metro is the first entrepreneurship center in the world. It's also include Living Lab, Fab Lab, Maker Lab, and Animation Studio and Entrepreneurship Center. It's both, so you can join in since 5 years until now 8. And so this place also when I start that dream, only few people believe me, that I can make it. But my core team believe me, and we became really good team. And we are online these years, days and nights, because Zemin Istanbul is a unique model that includes, as I say, in the world. And I also face a lot of challenges in that time, but I believe my team, and we never quit, and we push ourselves. For example, Zemin Istanbul is under the metro, so it's really hard to make place in there, and ventilation and insulation problem is really big problem. For example, in the rainy days, we are online all the night, and because of the flooding, but everything was a good experience for us, because you became more practical person. After these 7 months of the construction period, we opened Zemin, and many people began to came, and really we start to enjoy our work. I also be the director of this center, and we also in that period we take 5 million Turkish lira from the Istanbul Development Agency for Zemin build and the other things. Then I quit my job in the municipality, and also but Zemin Istanbul continue its activities now under the metro. Then I prepare innovation terms dictionary. Then I start to provide a consulting service in the field of entrepreneurship and innovation, such as now I'm in the IT Valley, like in the Turkish Silicon Valley. I'm the consulting of this valley. I began to make some special acceleration programs for them. And I take my new startup. It's a good for the children. I became the CEO of that Content for Children NGO company. It's because in our digitalization works we cannot control what kind of content of our children encounter. So we can we're creating an application. This is for parents and educators, because we analyze all the things: films, books, digital games, theater, cinemas, these kind of things. Is age 3 until 16 years old. It's a model of common sense, media.org. Maybe you know, it's for America, common sense media. It's the model of them. We present the evaluations of our experts, psychologists, and professionals make these analyses, the contents, and we can choose what kind of age, for example, these books for the children, and then we can, or we have academic also people here. And now we are make English version because it's called Çocuk için içerik. It's a Turkish. Now we can change it to English, Russian, and Arabic version. And then now we are in the negotiation process because we export that app. I hope that app spreads many countries with our signature. Now we are in the COVID, because of the COVID situation. Now we are home office because of the reason. I hope it will pass quickly in our world. My advice for young women entrepreneurship: never quit up. Choose your team from willing people, because who believe you and share your dream is very important. And closely follow all the developments in the world, in your field every day, and consult with people you trust, and stay away from negative people. That's all, and good luck to everyone in this journey. Thank you.
Many thanks, Ms. Kubra, for sharing your experience. Now I would like to move to the third speaker, Ms. Salima Bilani. Ms. Salima Bilani is a Canadian, but from Tanzanian origin. She is an award-winning serial entrepreneur, international keynote speaker, and the author of the innovation. She also teaches design thinking and entrepreneurship. Sorry, you can learn more about her at Salima Bilani. She is the founder and CEO of Rebel Impact, which empowers, educates, and connects idealists, innovators, and entrepreneurs so they can increase their influence and maximize their impact. She also teaches design thinking and entrepreneurs at Hopkins University and is an innovation strategist at the World Bank. Ms. Salima, the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much. Can everyone hear me and see my slides?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. I'm going to be giving a little talk called Innovation Starts with I. And as you mentioned, I'm the founder and CEO of Ripple Impact, where we help entrepreneurs increase their influence and build their platforms, help them with their personal branding so they can have more impact in the world. And you already heard the rest of my introduction. And yeah, basically, I'm really passionate about educating, people, entrepreneurs, students, helping people amplify their stories. I do some work with the Association for HR organizations. I'm all about making a huge social impact and work a lot with the Middle East and Africa and the World Bank. And I'm all about innovation and I love design thinking. So my career started actually in Brazil when I couldn't get a job in the last financial crisis in 2009, and I ended up going to Brazil to do volunteer work and helped a founder, basically a nonprofit leader, start a language school in Rio de Janeiro so that they could finance an orphanage that was in the rural areas that was suffering and needed support and infrastructure and keeping staff long-term. And it was a very innovative solution because no one had really started a language school that could help finance, have a social innovation aspect like that to help finance an orphanage. And it's now the #1 school in Brazil. And I was just a volunteer, but I got a lot of experience to help the school grow from 0 to a 6-figure school and help it become sustainable and #1 in Brazil. Then I went to Italy for my next challenge. And then I was faced with the Greek crisis and then the Euro crisis. And I was walking around the south of Italy in Reggio di Calabria, very Sicily, looking for a job. And I didn't want to, I couldn't find a job essentially. And so there was a lot of unemployment. So I said, what can I do? And I was in my survival mode. So I ended up doing some freelance translation online. And this was in 2009, where a lot of businesses were trying to go global. They were buying a lot of different website domains like .pt, .fr, all these different websites. And there was no, Google Translate was not as what it is now. And so basically from just starting freelance translation from English to some other languages, I realized there was a lot of demand from companies. And so there was so much demand that my partner and I started a translation agency, and we're helping all these businesses go global. And it was really, really successful and hit 6 figures within just a few months. And then after a couple of years, we saw that things were starting to slow down. Google Translate was really picking up. And so we said, okay, it's time to sell this business. And we were able to get acquired just before Google Translate really took over. And now nobody's buying domains like that because AI has replaced that. And so, yeah, working around the world. And then I did that, I worked a lot with organizations like the World Bank and the Inter-American Development Bank. This is one of my favorite projects that I've been working on for the past 4.5 years. And it's how do we really, improve food security in the Middle East and Africa. And this was back in 2016, 2017, when we had the refugee crisis. How could we actually not use soil to grow food? And this was the problem that they had. And I had no experience in agriculture whatsoever, but I could relate to being displaced, as I had a building fire. My own house has burned down before, and I was displaced for several months. And my parents were displaced in Tanzania, and they had to come to Canada. And so I was very, I wouldn't say comfortable, but I was familiar with the feeling of being displaced. It's not the same as being a refugee, but I could relate to the feeling of losing my home. And because of that empathy, I was able to help the World Bank come up with innovative solutions that were not using soil to grow food in the Middle East and North Africa, where it's very dry and there's a lot of water scarcity. And so introducing hydroponics had a really big impact. No one had really done it before in the region, but it was very sophisticated and high tech here in the United States. And so we said, why don't we go to the field? Let's go talk to the refugee. Let's go to the camps. Let's go to Israel. Let's go understand what is the technology and how can we actually simplify it. And you can see on the left, there's a picture from Palestine of, that's how they've been growing without using soil. And then this is another picture from Algeria of, the women actually growing food and being able to sell it to the markets. And then I ended up, realizing I really wanted to, I got a lot of demand to share my story. So I started sharing my story. I started interviewing a lot of other entrepreneurs, and I said, it's time to write a book. So I started doing a lot of design thinking workshops around the world, and I wanted to really learn from other entrepreneurs and figure out how can we help more entrepreneurs? How can we create more entrepreneurs and help them have a bigger impact? And so basically my journey was very much, I had to really go through this journey of figuring out who I am, especially when I had that crisis happen when my house burnt down and I got laid off from multiple jobs and everything I had a crash in my life, and I had to really, figure out who am I, what's my purpose, and do that work of, self-transformation. And then eventually now teaching entrepreneurship and helping other entrepreneurs after I got very uncomfortable with learning what it meant to be an entrepreneur. And it sounds cool, but it requires a lot of resilience, as you'll see soon. So basically I decided, it's time to redefine innovation, because innovation isn't just about cutting edge and technology. We're in this world now where it's becoming increasingly important, automation increasing, that it's important to be more human. And the human skills are what's going to help entrepreneurs differentiate themselves. So for me, innovation starts with I. Even though it happens with we and with teams and communities, it actually happens when we're not trying so hard, and it starts with the individual and the mindset. It actually starts with knowing who you are and having self-awareness and curiosity. I actually, when my house burned down and I was displaced for several months, I went to India, Bali, Thailand. I did a full eat, pray, love journey to really figure out who am I, because I think that we're no longer in this world where we have to just figure out who we are. I think we're constantly evolving as people because the world is changing so fast. And so we constantly have to go through that self-discovery phase. It's ongoing, and some moments, but I think there's a lot of practical advice in the world for entrepreneurs. But I think I'm going to give you some advice that some of it's practical, but some of it's really, introspective, really trying to understand, because that's something you can have all the practical skills, you can have all the net, then how are you going to be able to relate to your customers? And that being said, I just want to say that your sweet spot, what you're really good at, it's not just like figuring out what it is, it's actually developed. For me, for example, I do a lot of public speaking. I was extremely nervous to do public speaking all my life. And I realized that's that's how I can make my biggest impact. That's how I can help other entrepreneurs and innovators and people in the world. And so I realized that it's not comfortable for me to do that, but maybe I realized that that's having the biggest impact, and I just had to keep working on it. And so I kept working on it and became better at it. And so here's a tool that I wanted to share is that, when you're finding your sweet spot, you can actually use this tool that I created to look at some of the projects that you've excelled at. What are the things that the projects that you've been praised for, that people have said, wow, you've done this really well. What did you love doing? And what are some projects that you're open to testing? And this is often where there's room for innovation, the projects that are outside of your comfort zone. Here's a picture of me when I was this is when I was in Djibouti with these Yemeni refugees. And just imagine you wake up one morning and you're forced to leave everything you have. And it was very interesting to see how understanding the context of the people that we're serving, especially entrepreneurs, we have to think in the lens of not who just we are, but we have to think of the lens of who we're serving. And so going to these places in Africa and the Middle East really, really helped understand how can we actually create a solution that's human-centered that they can actually use. I also want to say that, influencing other people, that, innovation happens with we, and it starts by mastering empathy and having authenticity. And ways that you can do this is, listen actively. I think that sometimes we think we're good at listening, but we're not. And especially with all this noise virtually right now, it's getting harder and harder to really listen to people and not jump to what we want to respond to and say, but really give them a moment and don't interrupt them. Let them share and open up that space for them. And deferring the judgment, don't judge them, just create a safe space and be aware of when you're, creating judgments in your head based on your own experience. You also want to ask about the 50% you least understand. That's oftentimes where there's room for, innovation or ideas, is when you ask about the things that you don't know. And starting your questions with what, why, or how. Avoid the yes or no type questions and really try to bring curiosity. And when you're able to do that and you have empathy, we're able to be resilient. And when we develop that resilience, we can share stories and have a bigger impact on the world. One suggestion I have to do that is to go on a 100 coffee challenge. This is something that I did when I came back to Washington, DC, and I was given 2 weeks as a Canadian to find a job and a visa. And so I actually went and I set up in 2 weeks, the immigration officer gave me 2 weeks, and I set up many, many coffee meetings because I needed that job and I needed that visa. And that was right before I got that refugee work with the World Bank, was, having coffee with my network and asking for help. Sometimes you'll be surprised at how much they're willing to help when we ask. And I applied the same 100 coffee challenge to my book, Innovation Starts With I felt stuck. I was like, I don't want this book just to be about my experience and my insights. How can I actually, get to know other people and understand their perspectives? And so I did 100 interviews with different entrepreneurs and innovators around the world. I know I've taken a lot of time, so I want to stop here and just say that, if you want to order my book, it's available, and that's the link. And, moments of adversity are actually opportunities to reinvent ourselves. So, innovation starts with I, it happens with we, and it has a ripple impact on the world. Just some quick takeaways for you for this conference is, what are you going to do differently as a result of this event? What 5 people are you going to follow up with after? And how can you improve your story as you connect with others going forward? If you want a free chapter of my book, you can also go to this link. I can put it in the chat, and you can get a free chapter by putting in your email address. So don't make things complicated. And yeah, it's a fun journey. It's exciting. It's uncomfortable, but it's also really fulfilling. Thank you so much. And feel free to follow me on social media. I can also put the links in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Salima, for this inspiring speech. Now we will move to the 4th speaker, Ms. Sana Afawiz, but unfortunately she will be able to speak live because of unexpected circumstances. But inshallah, hopefully she will join the Q&A session. So I will ask, before we play her video, let me introduce Ms. Sana. She is an award-winning gender expert woman advocate. In 2016, she established Womenpreneur Initiative, an organization with a community of 10,000 across 20 countries that aims to advance women's place in the entrepreneurial scenes, technology, innovation, and society. Through her work, Sana reached thousands of women to drive visibility, social impact, and resources for women in the ecosystem and beyond. For the past 6 years, Sana advised United Nations, European Commission, corporate institutions, and organizations on gender issues. She was heavily involved in SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, discussions. She helped drafting several resolutions and recommendations on gender in New York, Bali, Geneva, and Paris, and presented to UN representatives. So I would kindly ask my colleague Sulaiman to play the video.
Hello everyone, my name is Sana Afways. I am the founder and director of Womenpreneur Organization, an organization focusing on women empowerment in economy in the Middle East and North Africa. I'm so happy and delighted to be here with you, so thank you so much for the invitation. This is an exciting event and very important cause, so I hope that it will be enriching and informative to all of you. I've been asked to share about my personal background as a female entrepreneur. So for those who don't know, I grew up in the south of Morocco, in Agadir specifically, the best city in Morocco. And basically I grew up in an environment where discrimination against women, misogyny, gender discrimination were part of our realities. So as a kid, I was very curious and I was very interested in really questioning and understanding why women are treated differently in my community or in my society. So I understood that I had two options. It's otherwise I accept the situation and believe that this is part of the norm and I need to live with it, or to do something and revolt. So I decided to do something and revolt and try to contribute to a new chapter of history for women, to do something different for women. So I started my journey as an activist, a blogger. I was reporting and covering stories of gender discrimination against women in Morocco. And that actually has led me to different projects, to different initiatives, to different actions. I had the opportunity of traveling to more than 50 countries, working with women from different backgrounds, from different cultures, from different traditions. And that has really shaped and helped me to really identify my purpose in life and to really identify the project I want to focus on. So my focus has always been the Middle East and North Africa. So I spent 1 year in the region, traveling from one country to another to really understand the realities of women in the Arab world. And it was very enriching, very emotional, very engaging. And actually, if there is anything I learned from those travels, is actually the realities of women in the MENA region are not plural. The situation of women, the realities of women are individual stories. But however, all women in the region, as much as globally, will live in misogynistic societies. And I believe that the best tool for me to use to empower women was economy. So I decided to establish Womenpreneur Organization, that is a non-for-profit organization based in Brussels, where we have our headquarters. Basically since 2016, we have trained 10,000 women in different countries in the Arab world. Our mission now is to double the number and empower more than 30,000 women by 2030. So the way we work is basically on 3 levels. The first one is we provide solutions, resources, spaces, networks for women to be active in economy through future industries, through economic entrepreneurship of the future. And basically, we want to put women in the heart of this new revolution. The second role we do is basically we raise awareness about the place of women in the Arab countries and the place of female entrepreneurs. The third role is basically drafting different gender propositions, recommendations to empower women on national level. So we advise different governments, different decision-making institutions to put in place the right gender policies on national level. So this is about womanpreneur. Now, as you can see, we have all experienced serious crisis with the COVID. And if you look at the region, we are already suffering, economically speaking and socially speaking. We have so many issues that we have internally, and the COVID situation just multiplied the issue. As you know, the region is about to lose about 2 million jobs, and 40% of these jobs are led by women. And if we look, half of the female population in the region is not connected to internet. So this excludes women from new opportunities. There is high level of violence against women, as we can hear from different stories recently in the region. When people are confined and under lockdown, a lot of women have been killed, have been injured, have been abused. Let's not forget about women in the conflict zones who are left out without security, without financial support, without health assistance. And don't forget that women in the region operate mostly in informal economy. 68% of women do work and perform in informal economy. So this means that we are losing so much talent. And most of the women who work in these fields, they work in fields where they are not paid and they don't have decent conditions of working. So we have entered the new century with a lot of challenges, and we are still debating sometimes in the region about the fact that women can travel without their husband's permission, if women can perform certain jobs, if women can be allowed to be entrepreneurs or to lead different initiatives. We have serious issues and we need to deal with them, and we need to really start a new ideas revolution, a new mindset shift in the region on individual level and collective level in order to put in place the right responses and support women in the region. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm happy to answer all your questions.
Thank you very much. I guess Ms. Sana joined us right now. If you could give a word to the participants very quick before we
Hi,
open
everyone.
question answer.
Thank you so much, Suhair. I'm so sorry I had a meeting and I was late, and so I just joined. Thank you so much again for having me, and I'm very happy to be in this meeting. I think the last question was about the advice that I will share with or give to the young female attendees and also male attendees. Basically, first, it's very important that you examine and you really analyze the environment around you. The ideas that are shifted in your environment can impact or define your actions and your behavior. So you need to be aware of really critically analyzing that. And second, most important thing for young women out there in the region and across the globe, opportunities and possibilities are limitless. So don't settle for a no and be unapologetic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sana. So because of time issue, I'll open the floor for question and answer. The first question is from Rana Hijazi from Jordan. She is asking, how can we make my project as I want to work in sustainable in the future? The question is open to all speakers. Anyone wants to reply can open the mic and answer the question. Ms. Duja?
Yes, you hear me?
Yes, I can. You want me to repeat the question?
Yeah, the question is very, it's a very big question because many things to do to make business sustainable. But I think the commitment of the entrepreneur is the first skills we need, is that we are really committed and we believe in our project, and we should work on organizing things very, very good, and to look very, very profoundly to the business model and the value proposition of the business, and then to look for the right market and the right customers to make it good and to make it right and to be sustainable. So I think it's here we have many points and many aspects to see to make the business sustainable, but the most important is that the entrepreneur and the management is really committed to do that, and to have also, and I want to stress on this point, to have this social, the corporate social responsibility, and to look beyond the benefit and the gaining money, and they have to look really on the commitment of the teams and the workers, the team of the company, to look also to the impact of the company on the environment of the company. So it's worthy to have this global vision on the company, to know what will be the impact and where we want to go in order to be sustainable and to grow and to have really a real impact. And the business has to have a real impact on the environment and on the people.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Douja. The second question is for Ms. Salima. How is the entrepreneur will enhance networking and leadership skills?
Thank you. Yeah, that's leadership skills. Well, first of all, I think as you enhance your networking, you also enhance your leadership skills at the same time, depending on what type of leadership skills. But leadership skills, I think, are mostly important, the soft skills and how you relate to people. And so I think going on a 100 coffee challenge, like I said, just interviewing people, whether it's for a book, whether it's for, having an intention, not just like, hey, I want to get a job, but how can you actually get that person? How can you influence in such a way that they'll respond and feel valued and they want to join the conversation, so that you are genuinely interested in what they do and who they are. And so, whether, you're writing a book, you're writing an article, you're doing some research, you're starting a podcast, whatever it is, and just trying to talk to other people, I think can go a very long way by actually doing it. There's a lot of, there's a lot of great books out there. I can make some suggestions. I actually have some right here on networking, but I would say that just start doing it and getting feedback from people as you do it, to certain people like your mentors, and just, getting better and better at it by, even if you record yourself, for example, and ask for feedback from your mentors, or look at yourself and say, how can I do this better? Try watching the body language of who you're networking with. And I think another aspect of successful networking or leadership as an entrepreneur is being able to build your platform. And that's something that, we do, is really helping entrepreneurs build up their platform, because we're moving into this virtual world now where there's a lot of noise. It's very, very hard to get people's attention. It's very hard to get on, to get someone to really pay attention to your message and bring value, because there's just so much happening. And there's so many people that are also trying to be an entrepreneur right now. So going back to my talk, it's really about figuring out what is your sweet spot. How can you really, add value to a conversation by doing research. Whenever you do the networking, always do research on the person so that you can bring great questions. Like, in my talk, I said, ask great creative questions using what, why, or how, and really take interest in who that person is, and having some questions ready, but also having an organic conversation for deeper questions. And they answer your question, ask another follow-up question and dive deeper. And I also think something else of value as we do more networking is just being resourceful to people. I think just the way, we're trying to bring value through our stories. How can we actually ask when we're networking, how can I be of help to you? It just goes a long way when you balance the giving and taking with people, so that it's not just about them giving you or, you sharing, but there should be some level of an exchange, even if it's not equal, but there should be some level of an exchange where if you're trying to learn from somebody, you can always ask. And a lot of my mentees have asked me, how can I help you, Salima? And it just goes a long way when you're serving others.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Salima. I have a question for Ms. Kubra. The question is how to involve a conversation fluently where you are not needed, but you actually know that is necessary for you to speak for the situation in the field of entrepreneurs.
Can you again? Can you say?
Yes. How to involve a conversation very fluently where you are not needed, but you actually know that this is necessary to you to speak for the situation.
Yeah, because when you solve the problem, for example, is it necessary or not, you can deal according to your business model and according to your work. You can also conversation with your team and decide this is necessary or not. With our teamwork, it is, because we can decide with our team it is necessary or not. But something also, some core things is really important, for example, in your work. So you can collaboration, and you can conversation with your team, and according to their thoughts, and you can take decision according to their decisions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kubra. I have a question for Ms. Sana. How can one see the entrepreneurial opportunities in conflict states, especially in Asian contexts? Any leads, any possible collaborative opportunities?
Very good question. I think to become an entrepreneur, you need to have the spirit of looking at solutions when others find only problems. So let me give you an example of Syria, for instance. If you look at Syria before the Arab Spring and before the civil war, women were not allowed to exercise certain professions. Then the civil war happened, the Arab Spring with its impact happened, and then suddenly a lot of women have been otherwise killed or have been, they tried to kind of go to Europe for a new life, for a better conditions to support their families, and others became refugees in different countries, the neighboring countries. So women were stuck in Syria, and the funny thing is that was the moment where they actually had to exercise certain professions in order to feed their families and to kind of survive. So this is where you see the contradiction, but at the same time, where you see as an entrepreneur that there is an opportunity in times of crisis. And I think having that spirit is very important. And depending on the situation, depending on the location, I mean, you need to analyze the problem and see what would be the different solutions for it.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sana. I'll take the last question, but this time the question is very wide. So I will read the question and leave the floor for the 4 speakers. Anyone wants to reply or to answer the question, she is very most welcome. The question is from Leila from Indonesia. I'm Leila from Indonesia. I want to ask a question. It was said that to get funding, it is essential that our profiles are known by potential investors, which means that it is important for us to have good personal branding. So how can women entrepreneurs improve our personal branding in the business field?
If you allow me, I can answer this question. I mean, women's access to finance investment, it's the biggest problem, because we talk a lot about women, but I think it's better to put our money where our mouth is. I think the question should not be what women should do in order to get access to finance, because the problem is not women. The problem is the ecosystem itself. It's the fact that the ecosystem has gender bias, and the fact that most of the investors are men who grow up in a certain environment. They perceive women in a certain way, and they make decisions. And unfortunately, most of the time, they grant funding for men than women because they have gender bias perspectives. So I think there is so much work to be done on the level of investors and making sure that in investment kind of committees that there is diversity, and actually there are women investors in the committees who would decide on whether this project would be funded or not. And it's true that women are pitching in more realistic way comparing to men. I'm sorry to say this, and excuse my French, but men bullshit more. Men exaggerate their pitching. I've been there, I've listened to so many pitching of women and men. And I think for investors, I'd rather invest in someone who's giving me a realistic pitch, someone who's giving me a bit of a close image to the reality, than invest in someone who's going to exaggerate. So I think women should not feel that the issue is from them. I think there is a collective work that should be done in the investment field, and that actually it is important that we put in place certain actions to facilitate women's access to finance. I mean, globally, only 2% of women get access to funding, to VC, so there is a serious issue globally. Does that mean that we need positive discrimination? Maybe. Does that mean that we need to have only fund investment companies or only women fund opportunities? Maybe, in order to make sure that more women access capital and finance.
I can add some thoughts to that. So thank you, Sana. Yes, it is it is very difficult, but it's not impossible. And I think it's all about how do you position yourself? And because investors are, they're thinking about risk. And so how can you position yourself, thinking about your portfolio? What have you done successfully before? Thinking of your life as a series of projects. Forget about jobs. Think about your life as what are the things that you've done successfully, and branding yourself that way. It's all about personal branding and storytelling. And apart from that, also building relationships before you actually need them. So starting to build those relationships early, getting into the right communities, the masterminds, the groups where can either those investors are, or that they will connect you to those investors. And a lot of it's also, there's things that you can apply, these different projects you can apply, for funding online and stuff, but a lot of it is networking, who you know. And that will differentiate you. So I think it's all about marketing and positioning yourself where you want to be, not where you are right now, but think of it where you want to be in a year or two from now, and position yourself that way. If you show up that way, you will attract the opportunities. I can tell you because I've experienced it myself, and this is what we help other women entrepreneurs do, is really that positioning and having that confidence and working on, with all those different groups or masterminds or mentors, whatever opportunities you have to be around other, successful women that have done it. And also if you want to do like a 100 coffee challenge to interview other people that have successfully obtained funding, I think it's good to know. You'll get to know not just the stuff that you'll find online, but you'll actually get to understand the real stories and get really good advice from people that have done it. So I would start there and work on your positioning before you actually need it. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you very much, Ms. Salima. So anyone else wants to contribute to this question? Okay, I guess we came to the end of the session. So Ms. Douja Garbi from Tunisia, Ms. Sana Afouis from Morocco, Ms. Salima Villani from Canada, Ms. Kubra Director from Turkey. Thank you very much for this inspiring and exciting session. So on behalf of ICYF and UNIDO ITPO Bahrain, we would like to express our gratitude for accepting this invitation to participate in this program and to shed the light to the young women entrepreneurs and give some guidance and directions to them to empower them and to start their business. Thank you very much. And I would like to remind our participants that ICYF is an affiliated institution to the OIC. Its main pure aim is to empower youth through implementing projects and programs for youth and to youth. So please don't forget to visit our website and follow up our social media in all social media platforms. Thank you very much to our esteemed speakers, to our participants. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much for your great work.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Thank you